So we're getting quite a bit of transparency from the Call of Duty developers for Warzone. Just did an interview with IGN where they discuss a few of the hot topics and kind of underlying things that people are concerned about or talking about in the community, whether or not the updates will roll out with certain things, how are they going to handle the casual mode, and various other things. As you see right here, Verdansk has given Call of Duty Warzone a shot in the arm. We got it more resuscitated, right? We got the paddles on the chest. And as developers say, it's not going anywhere. So this is in the concerns where I think a lot of people are like, well, how long are we going to get Verdansk? This is essentially a starting point. There's already been some leaks that have come out in regards to potential map rotations, which is a little bit more viable because it's kind of one of those things where they put out a new small map, Vondel, Ashika, whatever, Area 99, whatever. And people still naturally gravitate, or the majority of players are on Rebirth. I think we're going to see a similar trend with Verdansk, especially since we've gone through a bunch of maps. Obviously, we have the map that is rumored to be like a ground war, zombie style, whatever map called Avalon that was supposed to be the Battle Royale map. So we'll see if that gets integrated at the integration or at March or whatever, but Verdansk doesn't look like it's going anywhere. So the interviewer says, I imagine I fit the typical profile, which is someone who played a lot of Warzone during lockdown and was enticed to come back with the return of Verdansk. Was that the point of all of this? To get lapsed Warzone fans back into the game. Now that it's been out for a while, is that what you're seeing happening? And then Pete, which I've actually met in person, pretty chill dude. We hit our 5th anniversary of Warzone. We wanted to bring back Verdansk for quite some time now. It just felt like the right timing. Obviously, the player numbers were kind of low there for a bit and they were trending downward. I don't think anyone thought that Verdansk coming back would revolutionize and get the player count up to 500K on Steam or whatever. If anyone had ideas of that, that's just kind of nonsense. It's not how the cycle of the game works, right? We're going to get an influx probably around the integration again, but hopefully this time around they're not ruining the game or overhauling the game in a way that actually puts off players. So we'll see kind of how that goes. Talking about bringing it back wasn't just bringing back the map. It was more than that. Over the last 5 years, we've learned a lot, experimented with a lot. The one thing that you can say about Warzone is constantly changing for good or for bad. It's something that just keep evolving, and we listen to the players and we take some shots, and sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. Warzone 2 was they don't. But when we talked about bringing back Verdansk, it was very important to us to bring back the nostalgic moment in the time at the best we could and be respectful to that as well. And I think they executed in that area. Even if you're a huge fan of Warzone or it's become stale to you or you've come back and it's better than ever, wherever you're at, I think they definitely executed this pretty well. I don't think they ruined the image or memory of Verdansk the way that sometimes they could. Like Vanguard, they did a terrible shipment version, right? That's a bad second level. That's an example of a bad one. So during COVID, it was a special time in the world. It was crazy and something we all experienced together individually. But Warzone created a social experience in a way that's pretty new to Call of Duty. So we wanted to pay homage to that in the best way we could. We looked at every single component and made Warzone special back in 2020. And we wanted to really treat it right, which again, I think they did. So it looks like Etienne's going to talk a little bit more on the map side of it. But at least on the gameplay side, we wanted to make sure that we looked at all design principles and all the reasons that we added the things that we did back then. And are they still viable? Are they still fun mechanics and loops? And if we bring them back, we want to make sure that we did it the right intent. And that's why I think it stuck around so well. Post-launch, right now, it's getting great feedback from the community. They seem to be really enjoying it. And we're players too. They definitely do play within the Raven studio. We're players too, so we want to build an experience that we fall in love with back in 2020. So yeah, it's worked out. We're careful about what we do in the game right now because we hit the sweet spot of the nostalgia bit and people seem to be enjoying it. So we're pretty excited by the players too. And I think that's a pretty important part because I know I got an opportunity to play it back in December, and from that initial experience, I was like, whoa, this is actually feels so good to be back on Verdansk. And I had to wait 4 months essentially for them to bring it out with whatever changes they made or feedback we gave back then. But realistically, that moment I already knew it wasn't going to be a nostalgia thing. I know there's still people that are pretty pessimistic They're the vocal minority for sure. They want everyone to be as miserable as they are right now. Unfortunately, it didn't hit for those players. That's okay. They got in the habit of just being super negative. A lot of people are really enjoying the game right now, and I think a lot of people have figured out it's much more than nostalgia. Obviously, there's still going to be negatives to the game, positives, and people can have different opinions on different things, and optimistic or pessimistic, whatever. That's perfectly fine. No one's saying any game is ever perfect, but I think they managed to execute a sweet spot where they can start from and get the game closer to where we wanted it to be instead of doing the overhaul. Unfortunately, it took 2.5, 3 years to reset the clock and get us kind of where we kind of wanted to be. But I have no doubt that at least from the track record now, what they learned over that time, that they're going to be able to implement a lot of different things that are better quality of life things that we've experienced over the years, whether it's the HUD or the UAVs or whatever, however things work in the game, the kill counter, the ammo, the HUD when you pull, whatever it is, I'm sure they're going to continue and invest in quality of life things without negatively impacting the overall gameplay loop of the game, while continue to kind of keep it fresh. And we'll just kind of really see what they have to do with the integration. That's still more the red flag. Hopefully they come out and are super vocal about what their plans are so that we can kind of set at ease, like, yes, they're not going to just take this away from us, which is kind of a concern I think a lot of people have. It's kind of like it's too good to be true. And that's perfectly fine. Etienne says, we know that gaming in general goes pretty fast. 5 years of Warzone went by really, really fast, and we've tried so many things, but each day Verdansk was still in the discussion and the bucket of ideas. Oh, we'll return to that place someday. Obviously, it's kind of one of those things COD always does. They have the fan favorite maps. They return them. We've seen it with Rebirth. It used to be Alcatraz. We have Shipment, Nuketown in every iteration of Treyarch games. So it's not uncommon. We just got Firing Range back. That was in other Call of Duties. So we're seeing that cycle. COD players tend to like certain maps, and they'll like them forever. If you're not part of that group, it's unfortunate. But in general, if you're a COD player, that's just how it is. But it was just a matter of time, or we're getting to port that thing forward toward the new engine and the new Call of Duty. It was really more like, let's bring the best version of Verdansk. So just be sure that we remade everything from the ground up, the sky, the player visibility, and the audio. And I think most of those areas have exceeded expectations. I know audio is debatable, especially between different platforms, console, audio cheese, whatever, loudness, EQ, whatever. But in general, the base level of the game looks pretty good. Visibility is pretty good. I haven't really ran into a lot of issues where I was like, I didn't really see them. Maybe they blend into a bush with their ghillie suit, but in general, not really a huge issue. There's a lot of stuff that we put a lot of energy into, and we see the results right now. We were playing the game and we were like, yeah, it feels great. And that's kind of how I felt when I got a chance to play in December. So we're just eager to give it to the players, and the answer is really successful right now. So we are really happy. And just like Pete mentioned, I think it's only the beginning. We'll continue to challenge ourselves to see changes and improvements as a future. Obviously, they did the flyby. We had that not too long ago. The online sentiment looks positive right now, and you'll know that the online sentiment across places like Reddit and social media has certainly not always been positive about Warzone. It's a pretty big community. There's always going to be sides on both sides. Even if the game were theoretically perfect, there'd still be a lot of people upset about it. That's just kind of how gaming is nowadays. Is that something that you're seeing in the data? Are you seeing more people returning to play Warzone? It has been pretty successful. I think you can tell in the experience, right? Look, I'll take it. Reddit says positive things about Warzone. That is an anomaly, and I'm excited by it. Like Etienne said, we recreated Verdansk to be the best experience possible. But then we didn't stop there. This is a starting point. It is not an anomaly for where Warzone is going. And this is one thing that I don't think enough people have talked about. They've reworked a lot of these buildings where maybe there was a window that's been removed, or maybe there wasn't a window. Now there is a window, a little bit better visibility into places and out of places. Some of the layouts got slightly changed, and there's multiple buildings that have some of their layout changes, and they play better as a result of it. We knew there was going to be a lot of new players and lapsed players, word of mouth like that. Hey, come check out Verdansk. We added this casual mode, which I think has been wildly popular, which is doing really well for us. That's W. And we wanted players to come in and re-experience it at their pace, or experience the first time in a safe way where they don't feel like they're getting sweated out or outplayed. It says, yeah, it's been really impressive how Call of Duty touches different players, some different backgrounds. Huge community. It's almost too big where it's super wide net and people will disagree with each other, and there's still a lot of them on both of those sides, right? Like the one-shot sniping, TTK, Gulag, blah, blah, blah. You can go on and on and on. Zips, no zips, balloons, no balloons. You can go on and on. We've seen during the pandemic, and we've seen that today. So it's really a privilege to work on the level of successful franchise. We have the approach of we want as many players as we can, which sometimes that can be a negative because if you're going after everyone, you're really going after nobody because you're not really targeting your target audience. So sometimes that could be a little bit lost. I don't think that's maybe the wording that maybe they meant, or maybe I'm looking a little bit too deep into that. An example of this is like Escape from Tarkov. They don't make their game for everyone. They make it for a hardcore group of individuals who are uber passionate about their game. Same thing with like PoE 2. Generally, it's for that. And once you get into the community, you're hooked. You're in because the game feels like it's designed for you in a way, even though those games have their flaws too. And those creators and individuals who play the game all the time will complain about them all day, every day. It's just part of, like, they're just passionate. If they didn't actually care, they wouldn't complain, right? There's an element there that they do want to enjoy certain elements more, but that's just an aside. So having the casual mode, having more having more quality of life, having more ways to have stable platform game is really important. Down to the rest of the chapter. So for the rest of Warzone, how can we be a place for welcome new players and make sure that they're welcome back and return to what you love? Casual mode is where I'm playing right now. This is the IGN guy. It says, I'm playing right now as a lapsed player returning to Warzone. However, I'm starting to see sweats, maybe looking at the casual mode and going, we have some fun here, which we're seeing that too, right? He's saying, ask, do you see that internally? The whole spirit of casual mode has to give people who were scared about getting into commitment or a game commitment or a skill commitment with Warzone. It went live and we're going to look at the data and we're going to go and involve it over time and make sure it retains the design principles and spirit we want it to have. So if we see sweats come in and wrecking the whole server, then we'll have to come up with plans against that. And I know some people will take that as, oh, they're going to attack the sweats, whatever. Realistically, there's only, in my mind, there's only two things that they can do. They can put a level cap, which isn't probably ideal. The blanket would be too wide. It would or the net would be too wide. So there's definitely low skilled players or casuals that would be taken out of that just because they play a lot of zombies or something like that. Or a lot of multiplayer, but they haven't really got their feet wet with Warzone to feel comfortable enough to actually jump in. So I think that one's a little bit less likely. And I think what the other thing they can do, they'll just clamp the number of real players in the match. So instead of 28 or whatever the number is, maybe it's only 12. Sweats get in there, it's going to be almost like 99% bots. So realistically, the odds of you running into a sweat are incredibly low. So they'll just mechs on that side. I don't know what they'll do. Pretty new right now, and I think it's giving players that need it right now, and we'll just keep monitoring and evolving it. But it's a fun mode. I can't lie. I enjoy playing it myself, and I could play with people that have never played Call of Duty before. It's a little less intimidating that way, and I think that's what makes it so appealing for myself. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people are really noticing because of the SBMM being such an issue for squad diversity. This has kind of shaken that up and allowed people to play with friends they wouldn't otherwise normally be able to play with. This was kind of a common thing if you play with, if you're a relatively above average player and you have maybe your spouse, your friends, whoever, children that kind of suck at the game. No disrespect, they're new. They just haven't got acclimated. They cannot play with you in the normal lobbies. You go into the normal lobbies, skill-based matchmaking is going to kick in. You're good enough to go against a one-on-one other sweat, but a team of sweats, your team's just going to get stomped. And that's unfortunate, and that discourages those players. Now, you can go in there, maybe you're still sweating, maybe you're not, but you're taking it a little bit more easy. You're just joking with your friends. You don't have to be locked in on that to make sure you have the money for a res or all these other crazy things that go through your mind when you're locked in for a real competitive match that is just SBMM driven. And then you can play with those friends and they feel relaxed and they don't feel like they're losers because they're getting stomped in your lobbies. So this kind of removes some of that. And then when you get your quote unquote sweat squad together, then you go into the normal public matchmaking and SBMM's going to kick in, but at least you feel like you're not at a disadvantage trying to carry individuals. And then that gets rid of that little friction that can happen with your friends that just don't want to play with you. And it's a kind of unfortunate problem to have for a lot of people. Etienne says you get the sense of learning, the tension of the game. It's not just you get thrown away after and go to the gulag and it's done. You kind of work through it. So that's cool. And it says, yeah, I guess when ranked starts, the sweats will probably gravitate towards that and you'll have their fun. I want to talk about Call of Duty lore. I remember reporting on Warzone and how everything unified, all the different brands came mashed together in timeline. In 2021, you blew Verdansk up, and the public said this is never coming back, and I believed it. So we're supposed to go, you know what? Actually, it doesn't really matter. It's about the fun, or is it come up with the story explanation, how we're back? And it says, I don't want to spoil any sort of narrative bits, and that's not confirming nor denying either way. It's just that what we wanted to do for the moment was to take a pause from any sort of timelines or anything like that and just say, look, let's celebrate the moment in time. And I don't know if that's just more of like a politically correct answer, because obviously Activision kind of keeps a reins on the ideas that maybe they saw Fortnite's success. I think that's a little bit more probable. But regardless, who cares? If people are enjoying the game, that's all that kind of matters, and they can build off of that and actually work on what's going to matter. A lot of people are wondering if Verdansk is here to stay. Is it just a celebration, one-shot type thing that we're doing, or is it something that players can expect long-term and you iterate on it on that basis? We brought Verdansk back for a reason. It wasn't just to bring it back for a season and kind of say goodbye to it again. A lot of effort went into it. So for the time being, Verdansk is sticking around, and it is just the beginning of Verdansk's 2025 journey. They've already laid out a bunch of stuff that they have planned. Keep in mind that we had about 2-ish years of Verdansk with the Verdansk and Verdansk 84, that they have a lot of different updates that they did over those timelines that they can kind of pick and choose and incorporate what are some of the best, whether it's the train being added, the train station, maybe Quarry getting turned into the salt mines or whatever the heck. They have a lot of material to pull off. Stadium opening, they can go on. Underground train station or subway, and then we have the red doors, bunkers, the zombie stuff. They have a lot of different events that they could pull from over the years that we did have it, and they can consolidate them because they already have the foresight to build them out with the current engine. It says we'll see things go from there. So again, no confirmation on anything, strategy maps coming forward. We love Verdansk. It is a nostalgic map that we loved and it's fun to play on. So we just want to keep investing on it and continue to make it better experience for our players moving forward for at least the time being. I've seen players go back to unlock the Price's ghillie suit from MW2. Now Verdansk is back. Have you seen this? Yes, I've seen that. Are people asking each other how you get it again, going back to MW2 or buying and unlock the ghillie suit? Really investing in how the community is engaging with the game. Yeah, I think a lot of that is because the map caters to this ghillie suit style. So naturally, by making these ones semi-pay to win, essentially you've encouraged people to use that over the Nicki Minaj skin or whatever other shark skin that's out there. That's going to not necessarily give away their position the same way. And I know that there's content dedicated to hiding in bushes and all that type of stuff, or play styles where people do enjoy that. And it is a viable play style. I'm not necessarily on board with me wanting to play that way, but more power to you. And whatever you got to do, as long as you're not cheating. I've been having old debates again on whether to play aggressive or just camp a rooftop and snipe and just hide in the same old places. When were you thinking about bringing back the map? Did you consider tweaking it in such a way to encourage certain play styles, game types, or did you want to recreate it as accurately as possible? We wanted to recreate those moments, but again, we've learned a lot. So we give a quick example. Player visibility is really better right now than it was back then. And maybe people will remember the rows, but there were a lot of dark corners that experience a lot of people were not attracted by. So we've made some slight adjustments. And this has been one of the more significant things, especially in the buildings. And they even improved iterations of this from when I went to go play it in December. There were some lighting transition issues, which I haven't experienced yet in my current play session, but in the 2 or 3 hours that I played back in December, it was very evident that that needed to be addressed. So I'm glad they worked on that. We also didn't change too much because then it wouldn't be what you remembered in Verdansk. The map itself is a lot of that sandboxy kind of like, do you want to play long range and go camp top ATC or top stadium roof with a helicopter? There's a lot of play potential and a lot of opportunities at close range, long range, you name it. Great fighting in the woods area north of Quarry, south of West Hills. And basically they just leaned into that. And we've also made more impactful vehicles more impactful, as we had to remove things like redeploy drone beacons and a lot of other fast travel mechanics to make rotations a little bit more difficult, which made you think of how do I want to move with my team and what kind of weapons do I need to carry? What kind of sort of equipment do I need to carry? Lethals, tacticals, that kind of thing. And even a trophy system. All of the things might look individual things, but they compound together and really form the experience. They really do. I think we've definitely noticed this one more. I've used vehicles an insane amount more than we did in the previous iterations with all the balloons and zips and all the craziness that allowed for that fast mobility. I wanted to get some insight into the TTK and how you approached what you wanted to achieve there for Verdansk coming back. It feels shortened to me. But exactly what happened there and why did you make the changes you made? This one's a pretty interesting one, right? It says, comparatively to last year, Urzikstan year, or to the past 2 years, it is faster TTK. It's pretty equivalent. I don't know the exact numbers offhand, but the original experience, what we wanted back versus now to make it more casual, friendly, kind of. If I'm not good at hitting straight shots, I have an opportunity, and this is kind of lowering the skill gap, which there's ways to lower skill gaps in certain ways and increase it in others. There's also a lot more excitement like, oh, I have an opportunity to get a kill, which if the TTK is too high, everyone feels like bullet sponges, but it's really like a skill issue, right? So they want less of those issues, which I understand. That being said, it's not like we're trying to remove the skill from the game. There's still a lot of skill involved in the game, but it's approachable, which is a key difference there. And part of this was not only how do weapons handle, but they also how does your movement handle in response to that? Do I feel like I can engage in combat and get a beat on somebody and how to react? Somebody's moving and get away from the shots. So movement and gunplay are very tied to the hip. And this is again, peeling onion approach where they're kind of taking a look at that. So the TTK, even though we have more health than we did in Warzone 1, they've kind of aligned the TTK with the extra health variable. They do get to balance the guns a certain way. Hopefully we see some more improvements in that area for MW2 and MW3 weapons, right? We really didn't get to use a lot of those. My first Verdansk match, I was in the plane and there was 4 other people to jump out with the Ninja Turtle skins. And then there was another one with a fairy thing. And I was like, this is not how Warzone was back in lockdown. Was this on your guys' minds? We're rethinking and rekindling the feeling as it was back then when some of these crazy skins weren't so prevalent in the game. Did you ever think of a point actually just for the relaunch, at least at the start, we're going to limit the milsim military simulation stuff or some of the stuff that people remembered or just never a consideration? We talked about everything. We left no stone unturned, but we wanted to create the best version of Verdansk possible. And part of that is understanding the reality that we're in Black Ops 6 years. So at the end of the day, we're dealing with differences in loadouts, weaponry, and even operators. We tried to pay homage to pay off some spirit of the nostalgia, play off some spirit of the nostalgia experience as best as possible. But our intent was never to be a facsimile. We didn't just want to copy and paste it of the old experience. It was supposed to be the best version of Verdansk in Warzone to date. Part of that respecting players' purchases as well. So unfortunately, we'll probably never have those be removed, which is good if you buy them, but maybe a toggle feature in the future. I don't know. Etienne, I remember sometime with my friend, we were like, yeah, today we're all going to buy a different turtle. And then we wanted to be the 4 turtles winning a match. It's pretty crazy. So I think having those possibilities in front, that's not something I would ever do or advocate for, but people doing that, that makes sense. You lock in, you're like, hell yeah, I'm gonna be Donatello today. Here's the interesting part. I read this a little bit earlier. He said, one of my friends is really hardcore. He plays only with 1 attachment. That's his rule because he feels like it's cheating. He's like, nope, It's not usable case of a weapon. So I will only use one. And I'm like, okay, man, if you want to do it, but I will never go towards that path. That's me too. I'm like, that's too punishing. You'd have to be the elite of the elite. So you think he's having a different possibility so you can engage the way you want? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are doing that, but yeah. And he says your friend must be good. Yeah, he's good. What people are able to accomplish with those types of loadouts. It's crazy, right? This does lead me to my final question I want to ask. Activision has increased communication around cheating in Warzone and made changes recently, like with crossplay, but are you seeing any improvements with Verdansk coming back? And basically, this is out of their wheelhouse. They don't deal with that. Ricochet does. Do you have any messages for the community that your plans in 2025, now that you got to a place where there's positive sentiment? What can we, or we the players, expect? First of all, thank you for either coming back or continuing with us in Warzone journey. We are players too, and we strive to make the game as good as possible. I think a lot of people get lost in that because it says we are players too, and we strive to make the best game possible. From going to the individual studios, it is very much true that this is the case where you talk to individual devs and they'll talk about their experiences. They experience the same issues as you. They like the certain things the same thing as you. And inevitably what happens is these are huge companies, huge development studios with all kinds of different bosses, and Activision oversees a lot of this. So there's sometimes scenarios where they're trying to make the best game possible. And sometimes maybe there's a conflict in the office or above them where they don't get the final say in how things get to be put out. And I think that's inevitably what led to Warzone 2. I don't think Raven had a huge hand in that. I think that was a little bit Infinity Ward's vision for the game. I'm sure they butted heads on certain things. And even within the studios, they butt heads. But at the end of the day, the vast majority and practically all the people that I've ever interacted with when I've gone to the studio, they're incredibly passionate about the game and they play the game pretty regularly. When you have discussions with them, they complain about the same things we complain about. It's just like sometimes there's certain things that happen there's certain things that happen a certain way, and it's unfortunate that they don't get to be as vocal about their stances and opinions and their passion for the game nearly as often as they should be able to. It says the launch of Verdansk, the simplification of our systems and our mechanics, just the flow is the beginning. We're going to cultivate the game. We're pretty excited for our roadmap moving forward. Hopefully we get to see that at some point. We've got some great surprises that I'm not going to spoil today in store, but we hear the community. We want the feedback. We listen, we take all opinions, we have our own, and we like hearing what players think and feel. The passion is really important because it fuels us. We're excited to continue on our journey here. And this is another point for me to just throw another side in there. It says that we take all opinions. I know there's like people in the comments that swear that the streamers make the decisions, content creators make decisions. The majority of the time, most of the things that we would want or change don't remotely, like they almost never end up in the game. Like the decisions, like those aren't decisions that because we wanted those things to happen. I think there's certain people that, like I said earlier, sometimes there's missteps. They make decisions. It doesn't always pan out. But the vast majority of the time, like it's nothing that was the game would look insanely different. If that statement was true about the streamers and the feedback and all that, we would have never ended with Warzone 2. I don't think anyone wanted Warzone 2. And I think there's people that are like, oh, everyone was gassing up Warzone 2. I'm like, did you watch COD Next? Did you see everyone's miserable faces? We knew this was going to be a flop. We didn't know it would take 2.5 years to them figure it out, but at least they did. And then Etienne goes, yeah, totally. The first thing is just thank all the players for all the love and even the bad things. I think it's important to know both sides of the community. We're all passionate. We all have great ideas that are coming down the path. Warzone has so much room to continue to grow and opportunities in front of us. So I hope that with all the different players, we will get to those moments, and after they will stick as memories for them for the long term. So overall, pretty interesting. It gives us a little bit of foresight. I don't think that we're gonna play on words. I don't think we're gonna probably see Verdansk disappearing anytime soon. They do have a plethora of like a toolbox to pull from of all kinds of content. Even though the community is split on a lot of things, there are a few key items that people are hard locked on of generally what people want from the game and the experience, and hopefully continue to listen and grow and develop the game for the better. And I think people are enjoying it. Hopefully you guys are all enjoying it, and I've been appreciating you guys along the 2.5 years that we kind of had a content drought of negativity, and I think we're back into the positive, which is kind of nice. But we'll see kind of how it goes. Appreciate the support. Thank you for watching as always. Have a great day.